Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates Rashtra Prerna Sthal in Lucknow, recalls contribution of former PM Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Bharat Ratna Madan Mohan Malaviya on their birth anniversaries. Unrest in Bangladesh continues as another Hindu man beaten to death in Rajbari district. Moscow says it sees slow but steady progress in peace talks with the United States on Ukraine. Pope Leo urges Russia and Ukraine to find courage for direct talks to end conflicts, also decries conditions for Palestinians in Gaza. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated 3 bronze statues at the Rashtra Prerna Sthal in Lucknow, commemorating the 101st birth anniversary of former Prime Minister and Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The statues of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee and Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay honor their pivotal contributions to India's political thought, nation building and public service. The complex also houses a state-of-the-art lotus-shaped museum spread across approximately 98,000 square feet. The museum showcases India's national journey and the contributions of these visionary leaders through advanced digital and immersive technologies, offering visitors an engaging and educational experience. Following the inauguration, PM Modi addressed a public gathering attended by Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and the Uttar Pradesh Governor Anandiben Patel. In his address, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that this Rashtra Prerna Sthal conveys the message that every step we take and every effort we make should be dedicated for nation building.
ये राष्ट्र प्रेरणा स्थल हमें संदेश देता है कि हमारा हर कदम, हर पग, हर प्रयास राष्ट्र निर्माण के लिए समर्पित हो। सबका प्रयास ही विकसित भारत के संकल्प को सिद्ध करेगा। मैं लखनऊ को, उत्तर प्रदेश को, पूरे देश को इस आधुनिक प्रेरणा स्थली की बधाई देता हूं। और जैसा अभी बताया गया और वीडियो में भी दिखाया गया कि जिस जमीन पर यह प्रेरणा स्थल बना है, उसकी 30 एकड़ से ज्यादा जमीन पर कई दशकों से कूड़े कचरे का पहाड़ जमा हुआ था। पिछले 3 वर्ष में इसे पूरी तरह खत्म किया गया है।
Earlier in the morning, President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan and Prime Minister Narendra Modi paid tributes to the former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee at his memorial Sadaiv Atal on his 101st birth anniversary of Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee in New Delhi on Thursday. Prominent people of all walks of life also paid tributes to the former Prime Minister on his birth anniversary today. And various parliament members paid heartfelt floral tributes to former Prime Minister Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Bharat Ratna Madan Mohan Malaviya on their birth anniversaries today. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairman Harivansh, Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju, Leader of House in Rajya Sabha JP Nadda and other leaders paid tribute to Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Bharat Ratna Madan Mohan Malviya on their birth anniversaries. The spirit of Christmas swept across India as people from all walks of life came together to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Churches echoed with prayers and hymns during midnight masses, while cities and towns glowed with festive lights and decorations. The celebrations carried a strong message of peace, harmony and compassion. More in this report.
Christmas was celebrated across India on Thursday with great fervour, devotion and joy. From metropolitan cities to small towns, the birth of Jesus Christ was commemorated with midnight masses, special prayers, illuminated churches and enthusiastic participation by devotees. In Jaisalmer, Rajasthan, Christians gathered in large numbers at prominent churches to mark the festival. Similarly, in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, the city was steeped in festive cheer with illuminated churches and bustling markets drawing large crowds. Neighborhoods resonated with Christmas carols and community events highlighting the spirit of togetherness. Kolkata's iconic Park Street was brightly lit with festive decorations, attracting thousands of visitors to the city's traditional Christmas celebrations. The Kolkata police put in place elaborate security and crowd control arrangements to ensure public safety. In Bhubaneswar, Odisha, devotees gathered at St. Vincent's Pro Cathedral to offer prayers. The prayers echoed the true spirit of Christmas, calling for peace, love, unity, and brotherhood. In the northeastern state of Assam, churches across the region have been beautifully illuminated with colorful lights to mark Christmas celebrations. Bengaluru's St. Mary Basilica, one of the city's oldest churches, was beautifully illuminated with lights and stars. The surrounding streets were filled with people celebrating the festival with friends and family. In Chennai, the festival was celebrated with great enthusiasm. Churches, streets, and markets were decorated with lights, while devotees gathered for prayers, carol singing, and festive events, creating a lively and joyful atmosphere across the city. Christmas marks the birth anniversary of Jesus Christ and is observed every year on December 25. Bureau Report, DD India.
British missionaries, Hyderabad's St. Luke's Hindustani Church preserved worship in Urdu and survived independence transitions and remains South India's only church sustaining liturgy and sermons in Urdu today. More in next report.
आइए हम सब मिलकर दुआ करें। ऐ खादिर मुतल्ला खुदा, तेरे आगे सबका दिल का हाल खुला है, तुझे सबकी मुरादें मालूम है। आमीन।
This is how Reverend Samuel Harold Christian begins his sermon on most service days, addressing the faithful in chaste Urdu. St. Luke's Hindustani Church, tucked away in the heart of Hyderabad, has maintained this tradition for nearly 125 years. The church was established in 1900 by 3 missionaries from London who arrived in what was then the Nizam's dominion. They sought the Nizam's patronage to build a place of worship.
See, it started in 1900 and Christian Missionary Society of London, 3 missionaries have came over here to establish this church.
So, the church known until then as Norman Miller's Chapel was transformed into St. Luke's Hindustani Church. Today, it is South India's only church where worship, liturgy and hymns continue in Urdu, reflecting the syncretic ethos of the region.
As per the Church of South India is concerned, this is the first St. Luke's Hindustani Church. We, the CSI people, converted that Norman Miller's chapel into church as a St. Luke's Hindustani Church.
Reverend Samuel says that while the liturgy is in Urdu, sermons are delivered in Dakhani Urdu, an early and regionally distinctive form of the language that developed in the Deccan Plateau. Today, the church faces a new challenge. It is looking for pastors fluent in both Hindi and Urdu, skills that Reverend Samuel says are difficult to find. The clergy, he points out, must not only be conversant in the languages, but also be rigorously trained in theology to carry forward this unique ministry.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the Christmas morning service at the Cathedral Church of the Redemption in Delhi, along with large congregation of Christians of Delhi and North India. The service included prayers, carols, hymns and a special prayer for the Prime Minister. Over the last few years, PM Modi has been regularly attending programs that have connected with the Christian community. During Easter 2023, he attended an Easter program at the Sacred Heart Cathedral, Delhi. Joy, faith and festive cheer lit up the world as millions came together to celebrate Christmas. From prayers at historic churches and royal traditions to celebrations in conflict zones and even greetings from space, the spirit of Christmas resonated across continents, spreading messages of peace, hope and togetherness. Here's more in the report.
Carols, prayers and celebration filled the air as the world came together to mark the joyous festival of Christmas. From the heart of the Vatican, Pope Leo led the Christmas Mass, using the occasion of Urbi et Orbi to call for peace and an end to wars across the globe, reminding the world of the true spirit of the season.
Specialmente di quelle dimenticate.
From God, let us ask for justice, peace and stability for Lebanon, Palestine, Israel and Syria, trusting in these divine words. The effect of righteousness will be peace, and the result of righteousness, quietness and trust forever.
In Bethlehem, in the Israeli-occupied West Bank, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, led the Christmas Mass at the historic Church of the Nativity, as prayers for hope and harmony echoed from the birthplace of Jesus. Across the seas in the United Kingdom, Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla attended the traditional Christmas Day morning service at Sandringham Church. Prince William, Princess Kate and other members of the royal family joined in the annual service, keeping alive a cherished royal tradition. In Syria, despite years of conflict, Christmas spirit shone bright in Damascus. Syrian Christians marked the day with youthful parades, Santa hats and church services in the iconic old city, celebrating faith, resilience and joy.
We hope for peace here in this beautiful country. We have been really happy and it's been a nice period. Calm, safety and stability. We hope for all things good for this country.
Closer home in Nepal, Christmas was celebrated with great pomp and enthusiasm in Kathmandu as communities came together with prayers, music and festive cheer. And finally, spreading holiday warmth from beyond our planet, astronauts aboard the International Space Station sent a special Christmas message from space, wishing people on Earth peace, happiness, and a season filled with hope.
From all of us aboard the International Space Station to all of you, we would like to wish you the happiest of holiday season, the happiest of Christmas, Merry Christmas, and a happy, happy New Year.
And still to come on DD India Newshour. 5 killed in Nigeria mosque attack. First local election held in 58 years in Somalia. Bondi shooting victim laid to rest in Israel.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
Every time we would save your...
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said that Moscow sees slow but steady progress in peace talks with the United States on Ukraine, said on Thursday. Zakharova added that Western European powers were trying to torpedo the progress and suggested that the United States counter such moves.
In the negotiation process on a settlement of the Ukraine conflict, I mean in the negotiation process with the United States, there is a slow but steady progress. It is accompanied, as it has already been repeatedly said, by highly harmful and even malicious attempts by a group of countries, primarily Eastern European ones, to torpedo these efforts and derail the whole diplomatic progress that has been achieved. In a dialogue with the American administration, we constantly call on our colleagues to actively counter this destructive process.
Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Kremlin is analyzing the documents on ending the ongoing Ukraine conflict, which were brought to Moscow by Special Envoy Kirill Dmitriev from the United States.
Regarding the peace plan, we are analyzing that Dmitry conveyed to Putin. We are analyzing this material, and then depending on the decision made by the head of state, we will continue our communication with the Americans. We saw the report about Zelensky's truly strange Christmas address yesterday. It was uncivilized and embittered. He seems like an inadequate person.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin also said that Russia had made a proposal to France regarding Laurent Wintier, a French researcher jailed for violating Russia's foreign agent laws, and the bill is now in Paris's court. Wintier was sentenced in 2024 to 3 years in jail for failing to comply with laws requiring individuals deemed foreign agents to register and meet a number of stipulations. He is now facing additional espionage charges. France has said Wintier was arbitrarily detained and has called for his release. President Emmanuel Macron has denied that Wintier worked for the French state and has described his arrest as part of a misinformation campaign by Moscow. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test firing of long-range surface-to-air missiles near the country's east coast on Wednesday. The launch marked another step in Pyongyang's efforts to strengthen its strategic defense capabilities. According to North Korean state media, the missile test was conducted to assess a new high-altitude air defense technology, with targets reportedly destroyed at a range of about 200 kilometers. Leader Kim Jong-un also inspected construction work at a separate site on an 8,700-ton nuclear-powered submarine designed to carry surface-to-air missiles. The submarine program is part of the broader push to modernize the Navy and advance one of 5 key defense development policies. Israelis in Ashdod mourned the loss of 27-year-old Dan Al-Qaim, who was killed in the shooting attack on Sydney's Bondi beach as they attended a funeral procession for him on Thursday. Al-Qaim, killed on December 14, was French national who immigrated to Australia and was brought to Israel to be buried in Ashdod at the request of his family, many of whom live in the city. Al-Qaim was among the 15 people killed in what is Australia's worst mass shootings in nearly 30 years.
Hard to talk about someone and who the person was in life, but it's not the case when it comes to it's easy and brings me so much peace. You made me think that we were infinite. Death? Not a word for us. We only knew how it is to be alive, and very, very fully alive. With you, any day was like the other. I dare to say that we were immortals and that we are forever. We only know that we are alive when we cannot count how many dreams we have. And even living so much, your bucket list only grew and grew and grew. You were thirsty for living then. And you were running for life like you were hungry of it. Some people live dreaming, but you were dreamily living. You lived intensely, but fast and in slow motion at the same time.
The U.S. Justice Department has found more than 1 million more documents potentially tied to convicted Jeffrey Epstein, delaying a full release for weeks while officials redact details to protect victims. Justice Department began releasing records last week from the investigation into Epstein, a wealthy financier who died in a New York jail in 2019 while awaiting trial. And now more than 1 million more documents potentially related to convicted Jeffrey Epstein have been discovered and are being reviewed to release. The Epstein Files Transparency Act, passed nearly unanimously by Congress last month and signed into law by President Donald Trump, mandated the release of all of the Epstein files by December 19. Tariffs were one of the biggest economic stories in 2025, and towards the end of the year, things aren't getting any easier. As of this week, China has levied tariffs on EU dairy products. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Hey Lars, what's the latest on that?
Thanks for having me. Indeed, China has put tariffs of between 21.9% and as high as 42.7% on EU dairy products. That is quite a range, and it's at least partially tied to whether or not certain EU member countries and even the dairy farmers there have been cooperating in an investigation that China has conducted over the course of the last year. An investigation that for Beijing led to the conclusion that Brussels is unfairly supporting its dairy farmers, putting Chinese farmers at a disadvantage. So to rectify this, Beijing has levied now the lowest tariffs of just under 22% on Italian exporters. About a dozen French dairies pay around 30%. Some German companies just a tad less at 28.6%. And then the highest tariffs have been put on Belgian and Dutch exporters, over 42%, as I said.
All right. And Lars, what will it all mean for future trade between the EU and China?
Well, for now, we will likely see further tariffs. Brussels does say that China is playing an unfair game when it comes to subsidizing its companies. But since the Chinese economy has only become more powerful in recent years, they will likely not change their game plan there. Meanwhile, in the EU, economists worry that trade between China and the EU will become more and more of a one-way street, with China exporting massively to Europe while not importing that much anymore. Now, that has to do with a weaker consumer market on the one hand, with lower demand for goods in China, but more than anything, it has to do with China gaining a much more powerful position with regards to technology, especially future technologies. The country also has some tremendous advantages here, not least the availability of rare earths and other resources needed in chip making and such. So one thing is sure, the trade imbalance between the EU and China will grow rather than ease up, and the topic will certainly follow us into the new year as well.
All right, Lars, thank you so much for joining in. And Somali voters turned out in large numbers in Mogadishu on Thursday for landmark local elections, the first held by universal suffrage in nearly 6 decades amid a heavy security lockdown. Long queues formed outside polling stations as residents cast ballots in a vote seen as a major test of President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed's push for direct elections. More than 10,000 security personnel were deployed across the capital as authorities restricted movement and closed the main airport due to the security concerns. Over 1,600 candidates are contesting 319 local council seats in the Banadid region. At least 5 worshippers were killed and 35 injured on Wednesday when a suspected suicide bomber attacked a mosque in Maiduguri, Nigeria during evening prayers, according to police. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack in northeast Nigeria, where insurgent groups like Boko Haram and its Islamic State West Africa province faction have been active. The blast at the Al-Adam Mosque occurred around 6 p.m. local time as congregants gathered for evening worship. Borno State Governor condemned the attack as barbaric and inhuman. Bangladesh is on edge as violence grips the streets and politics takes a dramatic turn. BNP leader Tariq Rahman has returned home after 17 years, emerging as a key figure ahead of the February elections. The interim government has firmly barred the Awami League from the polls despite mounting international pressure. Meanwhile, questions over law and order continue to intensify as crude bomb attacks claim another life in Dhaka. More in this report.
Bangladesh remains tense amid a series of violent incidents as Bangladesh Nationalist Party's acting chairman Tariq Rahman returned to Dhaka after 17 years in self-imposed exile. The son of former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, Rahman arrived with his wife, Dr. Zubaida Rahman, and daughter Zaima Rahman, receiving a warm welcome from senior BNP leaders. A huge crowd gathered in Dhaka to receive him.
তরুণ প্রজন্মের যে সদস্যরা আছেন আপনারাই আগামী দিন দেশকে নেতৃত্ব দিবেন দেশকে গড়ে তুলবেন এই দায়িত্ব তরুণ প্রজন্মের সদস্যদেরকে আজ গ্রহণ করতে হবে যাতে করে এই দেশকে আমরা সুন্দরভাবে গড়ে তুলতে পারি শক্ত ভিত্তির উপরে গণতান্ত্রিক ভিত্তি শক্তিশালী অর্থনৈতিক ভিত্তির উপরে যাতে এই দেশকে আমরা গড়ে তুলতে পারি
With the Awami League barred from contesting elections, the BNP has emerged as the leading political force and Rahman is widely viewed as a possible future leader. The interim government led by Muhammad Yunus is under growing pressure, both domestically and internationally. Some US lawmakers have urged Dhaka to reconsider the suspension of the Awami League, warning that banning a major party as that of Awami League could disenfranchise voters. Analysts say a new generation of political leadership may emerge within the Awami League.
It's very strange that Awami League has not been banned. You know, no legal piece of paper exists which has banned the party. All that the government has done is that they have banned their activities. So if a party's activities are banned, obviously, you know, its political activity is banned. And given the situation that prevails in the country, the law and order situation, anybody who's an Awami Leaguer would risk his life if he stepped out in the street. I mean, without any reason, people are being tagged as Awami Leaguers and, you know, reporters are being put in jail, so-called, you know, Awami League sympathizers, and you know all that has happened.
Amid criticism over law and order, Khuda Baksh Chaudhry, Special Assistant to the Chief Advisor at the Ministry of Home Affairs and a former police chief, resigned from his post. His resignation follows public outrage over recent killings, including that of Sharif Usman bin Hadi and the mob lynching of Hindu youth Deepu Chandra Das. Meanwhile, violence continues in the capital. A young man named Siam was killed in central Dhaka after a crude bomb thrown from a flyover exploded near him. Police are investigating the incident, which has heightened concerns over a recent surge in crude bomb attacks in the city. Bureau Report, DD India.
In Rajbari district of Bangladesh, a 30-year-old youth, Amrit Mondal, also known as Samrat, was killed by a mob Wednesday night over alleged extortion. Police rescued him in critical condition, but he died at Pangsha Upazila Health Complex around 2 a.m. Authorities arrested his associate, Mohammad Salim, and recovered firearms. Samrat was reportedly a gang leader with multiple criminal cases, including murder. The incident occurred when locals caught him attempting to extort a villager, prompting a mob attack. An investigation is ongoing. And still to come on DD India Newshour. A discussion with expert on unrest in Bangladesh. President Murmu releases translated version of Constitution in Santali language. India selected to chair UN-backed Kimberley process from January 1st, 2026.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Bangladesh is witnessing massive unrest. Protests everywhere. There's a sense of fear in minority communities. And in a latest, Khaleda Zia's son Tariq Rahman has now returned to his own country after nearly 17 years. And yes, not alone, with family. Even their pet came with them. Now to unearth more on what's happening in Bangladesh, I am joined by Ms. Veena Sikri. She is a former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Ma'am, first of all, a very warm welcome to DD India Newshour. To begin with, another Hindu man has been beaten to death, and this comes after lynching of Dipu Chandra Das. It tells a lot about the situation of minority community in Bangladesh. How do you react to this? Number one, how do you assess this? What is actually happening and why? This is really shocking.
Well, it is shocking, and I think it is barbaric, because the way in which they are beating people to death, the way in which Chandra Das was beaten to death, his body was he was actually handed over by the police and the factory to a mob. They didn't protect him. His own factory didn't protect him. The police didn't protect him. They just handed him over, beaten to death, and then put on a stake and then burnt. And now, when the world community has been, saying such strong things about the law and order situation in Bangladesh and how the minorities, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, the Sufis and Ahmadiyyas, how they are being attacked. Today, another incident has come to light, that Amrit Mandal, same thing, you're blaming, Deepak Das was blamed for blasphemy, now he's being extortion. I cannot imagine a poor Hindu boy being allowed extortion of any kind, because they have no authority or any kind of control over the situation in extortion. So it is a clear indication that the situation is out of control. Today is Christmas Day, and I was on another program with Nirmal Rosario, Christian from Bangladesh, and he was saying that how they're not even able to go to their church for worship, how their sacred St. Mary's Cathedral and others have been destroyed. So it seems to me that there is a distinct plan to do away with the minorities. These attacks on all the minorities, Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Sufi and Ahmadiyya, have been going on right from 5th of August, since Sheikh Hasina left there. I will not say that it has never happened before, but I can say that the situation today is perhaps as serious as it was in 1970.
So ma'am, are you trying to say that this is happening as part of a strategy?
That is clearly so, because on the 5th of August, Sheikh Hasina's flight had barely left Dhaka, and two things happened. First, all the Awami League institutions were attacked. Any statue of Sheikh Mujib, anything to do with the 1971 liberation war, they were attacked. And second, all the minorities. Rapes, lynchings, killings, burning of property, burning of homes, grabbing of property, and people are forced to give up their jobs. There is a complete mobocracy in function in Dhaka since that time. And these mobs led, the Jamaat-e-Islami is in charge. That's the first thing to understand. Jamaat-e-Islami in charge. Muhammad Yunus is just the mouthpiece or the spokesperson of the Jamaat-e-Islami. He's doing whatever they tell him to do. The Jamaat-e-Islami has been put in place through the regime change operation, which ousted Sheikh Hasina and was conducted through Jamaat-e-Islami by Pakistan with the backing of other Western powers. So the point is that the Jamaat-e-Islami has been allowed to take charge of the situation in Bangladesh, and now they're trying to make sure that in the fake elections, non-inclusive elections that they are planning, that Jamaat-e-Islami will be able to take control. But actually, that is why the minorities are in such a bad way, and they're sending out these messages. Not since 1971 have they been bad. There have been times in between, like in 2001, 2006, when there were a lot of attacks on them. Even, you know, I would say even under Sheikh Hasina, when there were some attacks on Durga Puja Mandal, she clamped down on those attacks and they were stopped. So the negative forces of the Jamaat-e-Islami and others who don't want the minorities to exist anymore in Bangladesh, they want to follow the Pakistan pattern of eliminating all the minorities. And what they've been trying to do, very much a Pakistan-influenced regime, and they are showing the visuals of Tariq Rahman, who's coming back. Of course, he has returned to Dhaka after 17 years, so he really is in a way out of touch with what is happening in Dhaka. There was a big reception. You're showing the visuals on your screen, but the reception was by no means euphoric. It was not euphoric, and I've been told by many people in
they were indicating something, rather.
Yeah, you know, they were there, the big posters and so on, but the streets were empty. There was just this place where the meeting was held, this 300-foot road where there were lots of people, and he gave a very brief speech. I don't think he has been in touch with his own people on a regular basis. And in any case, there is one thing to understand about the Jamaat-e-Islam, about Tariq Rahman and the BNP. First of all, he never condemned the attacks on the minorities. He gave several generalized statements. He referred to Martin Luther King. He said that everybody must live together. Some very generalized kind of statements, but he never once condemned any of the attacks on the minorities.
Right. Right.
So let us all work together, he said. Can the minorities who are being oppressed, where are they anywhere in the picture? They have been deprived of their jobs. Hindu teachers have been surrounded. Primary school teachers have been forced to resign their jobs. University professors have been forced to resign their jobs by the mob. And then Jamaat-e-Islami candidates are appointed in their place. So there is no law and order. There is no system. There is no justice that is prevalent there. In my view, the only answer to the situation is to have free, fair and inclusive elections.
Which is not in sight as of now.
Well,
which are not in sight as of now.
Yes, but as of yesterday or day before, even the congressmen of America, very senior ranking members of the Foreign Affairs House, have written Mohammed Yunus about having inclusive elections. But Mohammed Yunus's office denies that they've even got the letter.
Right.
They don't even know about the letter.
Right.
Obviously, they have no intention at the moment, but I feel that the pressure has to be built up, because without that, this kind of pressure, killings, you know, lynchings of minorities will continue. The destruction of churches, destruction of places of worship, this will continue, and it will lead to more bloodshed. There will be another exodus to India.
Right.
You know, kind of thing will continue, but we have to, take this up very strongly. We know that this time the minorities have said that we belong to Bangladesh, we want to stay here, we want our rights. But Chinmoy Das, who was fighting for their rights, he's been in jail for 1 year. And there's been no charges against him, no FIR, nothing. Journalists, the media is fully under control. They also have been fully suppressed. All the media boards have been changed, the boardrooms have been taken over. And many journalists are in jail on murder charges without any kind of trial.
You're right.
So even writing about this.
Right. And ma'am, I mean, there are protests being witnessed in different parts of Bangladesh. Minorities are hiding in fear, and in fact, like you were just mentioning, freedom of press to an extent has gone for a toss. How would you?
Not to an extent. Total freedom of press has been removed. So because anybody who was not friendly, what was not perceived as being friendly to the Yunus regime and the Jamaat-e-Islami, they've been put in jail. You know, they've been many have been. Even some journalists have lost their lives. But I'm so amazed that even well-known global groups like reporting, Journalists Without Frontier, nobody's talking about the situation in Bangladesh. They're just letting it go by, they're just letting it drift, and all they want is for Jamaat-e-Islami to come into power, and maybe they want to establish, this is what Jamaat-e-Islami says, that they want to establish an Sharia law in Bangladesh. They want establish a caliphate in Bangladesh. This is their declared intention. And these people from the Jamaat-e-Islami and Islamic Chhatra Shibir, they say, oh, we had to kill policemen in order to succeed. So, where the world is talking about a revolution and a spontaneous students uprising, what has happened in Bangladesh is nothing like that. It has been a very meticulously designed regime change operation. And Mohammad Yunus himself said this in New York last year in September 2024, that he said it did not happen by itself. It was meticulously designed, and he introduced the mastermind, Mahfouz Alam, his own special assistant.
So what you're saying, ma'am, it seems like there has to be a complete change in the approach, but because with the approach that is there right now, the stability in the country is again not in sight anywhere soon.
Not at all. In fact, there is no sector of the society that is working apart from law and order. The economy is good.
Yeah, you're right. And in fact, the interim government has said, like you were just mentioning a while back, that Awami League will not be able to participate in the upcoming polls. They said that the Election Commission has deregistered it. There was a letter written by some US lawmakers, you were just mentioning it, to interim government's chief advisor, asking him to create the conditions for free, fair and elections in the country, which again is not in sight. They've also expressed concerns about the interim government's decision to suspend the political activities of Awami League. Keeping all these factors in mind, how do you see the upcoming general elections? You called them fake a while back. Will they even take place? The question is this.
Yeah, this is another question that is coming up more and more, that will the elections take place? In fact, with the killing of Usman Hadi, the way they try to blame it on India, and India refuted strongly, then the government, the Yunus regime has been forced to go back and eat humble pie, because they have said quite clearly that we have no evidence that the killer went to India. In fact, we don't know who the killer is. So the Usman Hadi family, his brother, is now accusing the Yunus regime of complicity. They said, if you don't know who has been the killer, then you must be part of it. And then they put upon Yunus to resign. Now, this is a very dangerous, this is a very, I would say, a step that would not take place until somebody had advised the Inqilab Moncho, which is Usman Hadi's party, unless somebody had advised them to say this, to call for Yunus's resignation, this would not have happened. So I think that this is a kind of a very severe turn in the whole situation, and whether if they're going to just drift towards another election without including the Awami League, Jatiya Party and many other parties, this kind of violence will continue. Each side will try to finish off the other, and now that Tariq Rahman has come back, and Jamaat-e-Islami has shown no interest in working together with BNP on fighting with, they were together in an alliance government at one time between 2001 and 2006. They had an alliance government. I was their High Commissioner at that time. But now the Jamaat-e-Islami is preferring the other Islamist parties, the Islami Andolan Bangladesh, the Hizb ut-Tahrir, and all the others. The NCP is said to be joining up with the Jamaat-e-Islami. And the polls, the opinion polls, the national opinion surveys show a very conflicting situation. One poll done by the Prasar Bharati, which is the largest Bengali language newspaper in Bangladesh, said 70% of the people want Awami League to participate in the elections. It doesn't mean 70% will vote for Awami League, but they want them to participate. They want free, fair and inclusive elections so that they can be called democracy in action. A genuine democratic participatory election is what the people want.
Indeed.
But this is not given to them.
Okay.
And then the same Prasar Bharati survey said that at that moment, which was September, October, that maybe BNP will win. But another survey done by the IRI, National Republican Institute, said that no, the BNP and Jamaat are very close to each other. 33 points for BNP, 29 points for Jamaat-e-Islami. But if you add to the Jamaat-e-Islami points, the percentage vote which will go to, say, the NCP, say, the Islami Andolan Bangladesh, then Jamaat-e-Islami goes beyond BNP.
Ma'am, surveys will keep coming. One survey and the second survey and the third survey and so on and so forth. But, very quickly, because we have paucity of time, ma'am, I want to ask you this, that how should India look at Tariq Rahman's visit?
Well, it is the kind of assumed knowledge that BNP is the next biggest party after the Awami League. And so everybody assumed that if Awami League is not going to be on the ballot box, then the BNP will definitely, be the victor. And it will be an easy victory for them. I do not see it as such an easy victory, especially because the Jamaat-e-Islami has consolidated its own forces against the BNP.
Okay.
Traditionally, like when BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami were in alliance, then the BNP depended heavily on Jamaat-e-Islami for, having big rallies, for collecting people. The BNP is largely restricted to urban areas, at the most semi-urban areas, and the entire vast rural areas is where the Jamaat-e-Islami is strong. The BNP has very little cadre in these rural areas.
I got
So that is why now, without the Jamaat-e-Islami support, it's going to be very difficult for the BNP to get organized within 6 weeks.
But like we were discussing earlier, we'll have to first figure it out. We have to wait and see whether elections will take place or not, which are scheduled in the month of February next year. But thank you so much, ma'am. Wonderful conversation, and thank you so much for joining in on DD India News. Thank you. Thank you once again. President Draupadi Murmu on Thursday released the book of the Indian Constitution translated into the Santali language at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. Santali language, which was included in the 8th schedule of the Constitution through the 92nd Amendment Act 2003, is one of the most ancient living languages of India. It is spoken by a significant number of tribal people in Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal and Bihar. President Murmu said that Santali language is not just merely a medium of communication, but a living expression of our rich tribal culture, traditions, history and identity. India has been selected to chair the UN-backed Kimberley process from January 1st, 2026, marking the third time it will lead the global diamond certification body. India's selection as a chair of the Kimberley process reinforces its standing among diamond-producing nations, trading centers, industry bodies and civil society, and reflects its growing role in international trade governance. Announcing the development on X, Union Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said India's leadership will focus on building consumer confidence in conflict-free diamonds and strengthening transparency and accountability across the diamond supply chain. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi virtually attends closing ceremony of the Sansad Khel Mahotsav 2025. The fourth Ashes test between arch rivals Australia and England set to begin at MCG on Friday.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Navi Mumbai International Airport marked a major milestone on Thursday as it commenced commercial airside operations with its first arrival and departure flights. The inaugural arrival at Navi Mumbai International Airport was marked by Indigo Flight 6E460 from Bengaluru, which touched down at 8 a.m. and was welcomed with a ceremonial water cannon salute. Shortly thereafter, Indigo Flight 6E882 departed for Hyderabad at 8:40 a.m., completing Navi Mumbai International Airport's first ever commercial arrival and departure cycle. The nation paid tribute to Mahamana Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya and former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee on their birth anniversaries. Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan, Minister of State Arjun Ram Meghwal and Member of Parliament Anurag Thakur remembered Malaviya's immense contribution to nation building. The Vice President said December 25th reflects India's inclusive tradition and highlighted Malaviya's belief in education as the foundation of a strong nation.
2023 the Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji released the first series of his collected works. And today we all are fortunate to be here on the second series of 12 volumes of the Mahamana Vangmai. As we gather today for the release of Mahamana Vangmai, we rededicate ourselves to carrying forward this great legacy. This collection is not only mere ink on paper, it is the DNA of our freedom struggle and the blueprint of our cultural renaissance.
वो लिखते हैं क्या, एक राष्ट्र तभी ऊंचा खड़ा हो सकता है, ऊंचाई देख रहे थे राष्ट्र की, इसलिए लिखते हैं वो कि एक राष्ट्र तभी ऊंचा खड़ा हो सकता है जब उसके पैर अपनी सांस्कृतिक मिट्टी से मजबूत से जमे हों और उसकी आंखें वैज्ञानिक और सामाजिक प्रकृति के क्षितिज पर टिकी हों। इसका मतलब मालवीय जी जो चाहते थे वही नरेंद्र मोदी जी करते हैं, विरासत भी और विकास भी।
Atal ji has once said about Mahamana, when a person sets out to do something great without the assistance of government, the personality of Mahamana, his character, will illuminate his path like a beacon. The most apt homage to such a great personality is not merely to place a wreath on the portrait or a statue, but to embrace and implement their thoughts and philosophy and to carry forward their legacy in spirit and action.
You're watching DD India Newshour. Time now for some sports news. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi virtually attended the closing ceremony of the Sansad Khel Mahotsav 2025. Young athletes from across the country who are participating in the Sansad Khel Mahotsav also joined the event. Prime Minister also interacted with some of the athletes. The athletes praised the Sansad Khel Mahotsav initiative and shared their experiences. Addressing the event, Prime Minister Narendra Modi applauded the continuous efforts being made to promote sports in India. He said Sansad Khel Mahotsav has now become a mass movement.
देश भर में 290 से अधिक सांसदों की इस कार्यक्रम का योजना करना, लाखों नौजवानों को जोड़ना और 1 करोड़ से ज्यादा युवा खिलाड़ियों द्वारा इसमें रजिस्ट्री करवाना देश के हर कोने की हिस्सेदारी है और शहरों से लेकर गांव तक हर पृष्ठभूमि के युवाओं की सहभागिता ये दिखाता है कि इसका स्केल कितना बड़ा है।
The fourth Ashes test between arch rivals Australia and England is set to begin on Friday at the iconic Melbourne cricket ground. Australia enters the Boxing Day fixture with the urn already secured, having dominated the series to take an unassailable 3-0 lead. Australia opted to include 4 fast bowlers in its 12-man squad, with spinner Todd Murphy brought in to replace Nathan Lyon. Steve Smith will return to action alongside veteran and in-form batter Usman Khawaja. Fast bowler Jai Richardson has also been brought back after a fine domestic form. On the other hand, Stokes-led England have suffered a big blow, with lead pacer Jofra Archer once again injured and about to miss both the remaining tests. Many eyes will be on Joe Root alongside captain Ben Stokes on how they try to lead the team back to winning ways. The MCG test could very well be detrimental to the future of baseball and how England cricket moves forward. A dominant India will look to seal the 5-match series with another ruthless display when it takes on a low-on-confidence Sri Lanka in the 3rd Women's T20 International in Thiruvananthapuram on Friday. India has been outstanding with both the bat and the ball in the first and second T20Is, registering comprehensive 8-wicket and 7-wicket wins, respectively, in Visakhapatnam, to underline its overall dominance over Sri Lanka. It was India's 9th win in its last 11 T20Is against Sri Lanka, which last tasted victory against the host in July 2024 at Dambulla. In a remarkable comeback, India's golfing legend Jeev Milkha Singh ended a 13-year title drought by clinching victory at the IGPL Invitational Sri Lanka. Jeev Milkha Singh provided the inaugural edition of IGPL a dream finish as he be a host of young and experienced stars. The IGPL win marked Jeev's first professional victory since 2012 Scottish Open, beat Aryan by one shot. As Jeev won his maiden IGPL title, Pukhrat Singh Gill won the IGPL Order of Merit by a razor-thin margin over Aman Raj and Gaganjeet Bhullar. Out of touch, Chelsea are set to face a tough challenge in their Premier League campaign as they will face in-form Aston Villa in a crucial game on Saturday. Villa has been in top form, having won the last 7 games to sit just 3 points behind Arsenal. They have beaten United and Arsenal at home already this season, but lost to Liverpool. Meanwhile, Chelsea have struggled for consistency this season and are 10 points adrift of table leaders Arsenal. The Blues are currently 4th in the standings, but could slip out of that position without a victory in this clash. Fortunately for Chelsea, midfielder Cole Palmer is finally ready to play a full match after months of injury struggles.
His back is available for Saturday, him and also Liam Delap. I think he's ready for 90 minutes. Yeah, the progression for a player is, 45, 1 hour, 71. He already played 1 hour against, I think, Everton. He played more than 70 against Newcastle. So I think the progression.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.